Peace, everybody. Peace, everybody. Glad to be back with you. I know it's been a little while. Please forgive us for that, but you know that life happens. Things go on and we have to take care of business. Um, we hope everyone had a good holiday season. We hope that it was peaceful and we hope everybody truly enjoyed themselves. And today we're going to be dealing with the question, should I have my child assessed? And we're going to be talking about some of the things that you may hear, some of the things that you may question, and we're just going to give you our viewpoint of it. And of course, we're not doctors, we're not professionals in that sense. So we're always basically just going to be giving you what we've experienced and what our thoughts are. And then, of course, you evaluate those thoughts and still make the best decision that you can. We just want to give you our take on it and our experience so you have something to go off of. Anything that you want to say?
No, I think you covered everything with that.
So, one of the main things we would like for everybody to do is, if you are at that crossroads where you know or you feel something is wrong, please go to www.mpfat.org. Click on autism. Make sure you read the definition, but most importantly, read the 10 signs. Put your emotions aside, put your ego aside, but read those 10 signs and make sure you evaluate your child from what you've seen, from what you know of your child. And if that child has 5 or more of those signs, we would say definitely get your child assessed, because that's what's going to help you in your future and your child's future. You know, as the old people used to say, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. And so we definitely want you, at whatever time you begin to see something, you're not exactly sure what's going on, but you're getting a sense of something, please check out the site and make sure you read those 10 signs. And again, put your ego aside, because I know we've heard many things from many families about going through that process, because some of us, our ego gets in the way. You know, no, I'm the best stock. You know what I mean? I couldn't, no child like that would come from me, and blah, 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 blah.
Or they don't want a label on their child.
Right. I don't want a label because the label could cause issues, and I don't want them to feel this way or that way, and I don't want them to be messed with and this, that, and the other. You know, take it straight from us. The bottom line is, if you're seeing the signs, make sure you pay attention. Like I said, check the list. And if they fit the list, you know that you need to get prepared and take them to get them assessed. Don't play with it. Don't try to talk yourself out of it. Also, don't let other people talk you out of it.
Right.
Well, no, girl, you know how they is. They just try to label everything. They just want to label our children. Now, in the Black community especially, there's truth to that. And we understand that. And, you know, sometimes our children may get falsely labeled. But that's all the more reason to make sure you get the assessment done, though, so that you know what's going on and what you have to do. You know, we understand that labeling can be a problem, can cause issues, but it's better to have the label if it is deserved, and then you get your help that you need, especially when it comes to school. And I'll let you talk about that part, because I know she's worked a lot in that area, trust me.
Yes. So what an assessment can do is help guide you as the parents, and also guide the teachers in helping your child best get their needs met. be it finding the right therapies or making the right treatment plan, establishing the best individualized education plan, or as it's better known as an IEP. That's going to guide everything with regards to what treatments you'll get and what help your child is going to get in school. So they may get accommodations, they may get additional assistance, they could even qualify for a one-on-one aid to help them in the classroom. So it is really important that you get that assessment and start early.
Most definitely. Now, again, we still want you to make sure you check the signs. If it's only like one or two, then we can kind of understand that you might not want to rush to get them assessed. But that still means that, as we've said in other episodes, you have to pay attention to your child. And we would definitely suggest you start putting timelines together. If your child is speech delayed and it's constantly just going, it doesn't seem to change, okay, you obviously need to look into that. Now, maybe it may not be autism. It may not truly be on the spectrum, but you still want to get it checked out just to make sure that you know what's going on with your child. I know in our community, especially, again, we do have a problem with kind of writing things off a little bit, but you don't want to do that because your child is going to be affected by that. The faster you can get them the help that they need, then the better the chance they'll have a more fulfilling life in the end, as well as that's going to affect you, parents. How well they do and how much of information and help you get can determine how long your child may have to stay with you. So the more you work with it and the faster you can get help, the better the chances that we can get our children to be as independent as possible and be able to live a fulfilling life. What do you think?
I agree with that because oftentimes when parents have children with behavioral issues or who lack social skills, it can be very difficult for the parents. It can be very isolating because you may not want to visit other people's homes. You may not want to take them on play dates or other outings because you may be concerned about the child's behavior or how they may respond to different situations. So the sooner you can get your child assessed and get them the help that they need, and also get you the help that you need in responding to whatever issues they may have, the better.
Especially since I don't want to scare anybody, but I've spoken to different parents, and things can get definitely out of hand as the child gets older, especially when we all know they hit that teenage age. You already expect things to happen anyway. But things can get out of control, especially in single family homes where there's just the mom and it's her son that is experiencing autism. Things can get out of hand because eventually he becomes stronger than her. So the quicker you can get him help and you as the parent get help and learning the different ways to deal with your child, learning the different ways to help guide them, redirect them, and things of that nature, the better it becomes for you when they hit those teenage years. Because we were at a I don't want to call it a parent conference, but we were at a school setting where we were speaking with somebody from Pathfinders, and he was telling us that what he was going through with his teenage son, where his wife ended up having to call the police on her own son because he had just gotten too hard to manage and he had a tantrum. I'm not saying this to scare anybody, but these are things that we could end up dealing with. Once you check your child against those 10 signs, that's why it's definitely in your benefit to make sure you get the assessment done as fast as you can, so that you can, if it takes ABA, if it takes different techniques, to be able to help your child manage themselves and help you to be able to work with them to get them where they need to be. This definitely going to end up helping you in the end. It is worth it.
And that's not to say that you can't get your child, like if your child is having issues with speech, that's not to say that you can't get them speech therapy without a full assessment. You can do that, but it's going to be a lot more effective if you have a full assessment done. Also, there are a lot of limitations with health insurance companies.
Right.
A lot of health insurance companies will limit the number of therapy sessions for speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy that your child can get per year to no more than 60. However, if you have an assessment done and find that the child has autism, they have unlimited visits available oftentimes through health insurance that are covered each calendar year up until the age of 21. So it's really going to be in your best interest and the child's best interest to make sure you have the correct diagnosis for your child so they can get all of the help that they need, and you can afford to pay for it.
Absolutely. And I have had conversations with the office in schools where they were telling me that my son, Mikhail, at this particular school, they were telling me, well, I said, well, I'm glad that he had his assessment and so on and so forth. And they were like, well, yes, he's our first autistic child. But then they kind of smiled at me. It was like, first diagnosed autistic child. Meaning, they were seeing a lot of things going on with the children, but they weren't being diagnosed. That's why I'm saying to you parents, please, if you see something going on, check it against the 10 signs. And if it's more than 5, especially, please get them assessed, because we're sending them to school where they're being expected to act in a certain way to fit the criterion of the school. But if they really aren't at that level, then the teachers have to deal with it as they're a regular child.
And we've seen where in some of the parent groups we belong to that, teachers are telling parents, I can't handle your child. I don't have the resources to handle your child.
Absolutely.
I don't have the support to handle your child in my classroom. I don't know what to tell you, but I can't handle your child. And many of these children do have a diagnosis. So, it's a very complex issue. It can get very complicated. And I also need to point out that we were fortunate in that we went through Child Find, which is available in most jurisdictions, where you can get assistance as far as getting your child assessed through the local school system. And we did that primarily originally because of the speech problem, but they did additional assessments and arrived at the autism diagnosis. Now, we also decided to, as we mentioned before, we decided to also have them assessed through privately through our medical insurance as well. Now, the kicker is, though, if you go through your medical provider and through health insurance and have your child assessed. The school does not have to accept that diagnosis. They still may require that their own assessment be done.
Right.
Which is fine. However, this often will waste a lot of valuable time. So say your child, you're concerned, your child is already, it's January. By the time the school is able to schedule time to talk with you, to do all the questionnaires that they have to coordinate the school psychologist, the specialist from the school system, all of that, and then finally get a final determination, it could be May. You've already lost a lot of time. We went through that exact issue with our son, Nasir.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was around December that we had him assessed. We immediately contacted the school system, and it was right around Christmas time. We were able to get in January, but by the time we finished all the meetings that had to be done,
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't actually start school until May. And we let him start so that he could get familiarized with going into the school, going into the classroom, taking the bus, so that he would be ready for the following school year. But again, that was a lot of valuable time wasted, because even though we had that assessment done through our insurance company, they still required their own assessment to be done. So if you can, try to coordinate them to happen at the same time, concurrently, so that you're not wasting any time at all.
Right. But again, you're going to get the most help when you have that assessment backing you up.
Yes.
You get better choices and greater services that can be provided if you have that assessment. So, one of the main things that we're saying is that we know that labeling can be an issue and a problem for some of us, but it's still best to have that assessment, because it's just going to make life better for you and your child. Like I said, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. The earlier you start, then, like my wife was saying here, it's a better chance that you can start to get congruency between this, that, the other. We can get all of our ducks in a row versus, losing your hair, losing your mind, trying to get things done, because this is a process. And to be quite honest with you, the numbers and the rate of autism that is showing up everywhere, the schools are not ready. And I'm not saying that to be malicious against the school system. I'm just saying that from me talking to principals, I know that that's a fact. They're not ready for it. And so therefore, we already will be facing an uphill battle. So you want to have as many tools available to you so that you can, push things through, be able to talk to your IEP group. And that's, like we said before, getting your team together is definitely crucial to helping your child and helping yourself, because this is going to be for life, for the rest of their life and the rest of your life. So again, from our point of view, the main thing is definitely please get the assessment. If you see something, it's free. So just go to www.mpfat.org, click on the autism, and check out the 10 signs. And like I said, be brutally honest and truthful with yourself. Don't make any excuses. Take your ego out the way, move your emotions out the way, and assess your child against those 10 signs. And especially if you see more than 5, move quickly, because your child is depending on you. They can't do it themselves. They need you to move.
And oftentimes there's waiting lists to even get your child assessed.
Yes.
So like I said before, you can start. We did start Nasir, being that we had to wait until December to even get him assessed, we decided to be proactive, and we started him in speech therapy and occupational therapy before he even had a diagnosis. You can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you're limited to no more than 60 visits per year. So you have to be careful and make sure you're watching out for that so that you're not paying fully out of pocket, because the insurance will not cover it otherwise if you go over the 60 visits. But make sure that you stay on top of things. Also, you need to, you want to make sure that you have that assessment done and that diagnosis available so that you can get that individualized education plan on record. Because if your child has any behavioral issues in school, to the point where they could be expelled, your child has no protections if they don't have a diagnosis and an IEP in place.
Absolutely.
At least with the IEP in place and the diagnosis, you can go through the due process protocols and also get help with keeping your child in school. But without those, there may not be a lot of hope for keeping your child in school.
Right, because behavioral issues is definitely something that most of us as parents of autistic children, we experience. You're gonna see it on different levels at different ages. Every child is different, so therefore every symptom is going to be different, and it's going to show up in different areas. And again, this is another reason for it to be diagnosed. That you want the assessment, because again, you want to give yourself the best chance to be ready, to get ready, to have the best ideas of what's going to happen, what can happen, and then again, have your team in place. That assessment helps things go a long way. And like Nicole was saying, without that assessment, assurance is only going to go willing to go, but so far, and then it's on you. So now you really got to start figuring out this, that, and the other. And we just want to help everybody. We especially wanted the children to be okay. That's the bottom line.
Right, because most people wouldn't see this as being a life or death issue, but it can be.
Yes.
What if the school has an emergency? We all know that there have been a lot of emergencies lately in schools and really bad situations. And I know if you are employed in, say, an office building or maybe a government worker, I'm sure you're familiar with active shooter drills. Our children in schools are also going through these, where you're expected to make a quick decision on whether or not to run, hide, or fight in some active shooter situation. So you really need to have that assessment done and that IEP in place so that the school knows exactly how to handle your child and what your child needs in emergency situations. If a loud alarm is going off and your child freezes because they have sensory issues due to the autism, they need to know how to handle that. They also need to know what to tell emergency responders in dealing with your child. What if your child freezes and will not evacuate the classroom, or will not hide, or will not run? That is a life or death situation for your child.
Definitely. And again, just to help them through school, having that assessment and being able to tell to the teachers and give them the information that they need to be able to deal with your child, so that they, again, don't end up sending your child to the principal's office every day, because they're seeing this behavior that doesn't seem to be fit for the classroom, because they're not in a special classroom. They're in a regular classroom, because without that diagnosis, that's where they're going to be. So then it causes the child stress. It puts stress on the teacher and stress on the principal. And again, at least with the assessment, then they know, okay, these are issues that come along with it. But without the assessment, they're just looking at your child as your child is just a bad child. They just don't want to behave. And it's like, no, they're suffering from autism.
And that IEP document is a legal document.
Yeah.
It is requiring the school to do what's in that document legally for your child. So you want to make sure that they have everything that they need to be able to help your child.
Right. Because, again, it's going to be stressful for them on a daily basis. But when everybody knows what's going on and you went through the assessment process and now you can better express to the school, to the teachers, to your IEP team, okay, this is what's going on. And from my understanding, his autism makes him do this, but this is how we can counteract it. This is what I do to calm him down or her down. This is what I do to try to keep him focused. Please allow him or her to have a fidget toy. They're not trying to ignore you, but that's what they do to actually be able to focus sometimes. So the assessment process is something that's very real that we really need to take our children through if you're seeing the signs.
It's crucial.
Yes. I mean, it's definitely something, again, we're talking about it's going to affect their life, your life. As Nicole just said, it can turn into life and death situations. Even for you, once you get that assessment, and again, you start getting into the programs, the same thing that can happen in school. What about your house? What about if something happens in the house? Can you deal with your child in the right way to get them out? Can you teach them how to deal with first responders?
And you're going to want to talk to your local first responders in your area.
Right.
Make them aware that you have a child or children in your household that have been diagnosed with autism, and how they respond to certain emergency situations or may respond to those situations.
Definitely. So all of these things come out of the assessment process. And that's why we're saying, from our perspective, the assessment process is definitely needed when you start to see those signs. Don't ignore them. But again, go to the site, look at the 10 signs of autism. If your child is starting to exemplify those things, please get them assessed, because we want you to be able to help them to feel better. One of the things that we've been finding out a little more recently is a lot of times we forget to think about what's going on with the child. How do they feel when things are going on and they can't calm down? When they're having outbursts and they're ill affecting the people that they love. Sometimes we got to remember that they're dealing with it. It's them. It's going on inside of them. And they have to try to figure out, well, I don't like this. Our daughter, Ayana, is famous for that. I don't know. I can't control my emotions. I don't want to be bad. But and she's, sometimes you're like, is she playing with me? But at other times, she's like, you can tell she's actually being very honest. She's not liking feeling out of control, feeling like my emotions. Why am I doing this? I don't really want to, but it's like I can't seem to stop. I can't calm down. This is real. Your child, if you're sending your child to school without that assessment, when you're seeing these signs, but for whatever reason, not judging anybody, but if you're ignoring the signs, I'm telling you, your child is really stressed out in school because they want to be able to keep up. They don't feel good that they can't answer a question, that they have a super hard time focusing. Right. It's not that they're just bad children. They just don't care. It's just that their mind is wandering. Or they'll get a thought, then the thought leads to another thought, then the thought leads to another thought. And then they stop even paying attention to the teacher and what's being said. They're getting lost in their own head. And this is real. This is what some of our children are going through. And so as it's our job as parents, we don't want them to suffer. We want them to be able to learn. It's very hard. We're homeschooling right now, so trust me, we can tell you. It's
And
very
that's not to say that every child is going to have those same issues, or that they're going to come out in the same way, because if you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. They're all
Right.
different.
Each
That's
one.
why it's a spectrum.
Yes.
They can be anywhere on that spectrum.
Mhm.
So it is important for you to get them assessed to see exactly where they fall, because the assessment will tell you, on the rating scale, where your child falls, whether or not they're mild, moderate, or, on the higher level of severity. So you're definitely going to want to have that assessment done. And you don't just get one assessment. You're going to need to get your child reassessed, at certain intervals. And the medical professionals will make sure that when you should be getting your child reassessed. And that may vary depending on your child and their needs.
Right. And as we've said before, kind of go with your spirit, kind of go with your gut. Like I said, you need a good team. You want that assessment to be done by someone that you have trust in, that you feel good around, that you feel good that your child is around. Because you want a good diagnosis. You don't necessarily want to just go somewhere and it's like they just pushing paperwork, trying to push your child through real quick. No, you want it to be able to speak with the assessors, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Please ask the
Right.
questions. If stuff coming up and you don't understand, don't feel like, well, I feel a little stupid if I ask this. No, ask. Ask the question, regardless of what it is. Just ask, because that's what's going to help you and your child figure this thing out, figure this road, this path out.
Right. And like we mentioned in previous videos, it's not a one and done type of thing with the assessment. You schedule the appointment. There's an initial appointment, with the, whatever facility that you're going to, with their medical providers. And then, they schedule an appointment for the actual assessment. They give you a bunch of information about, what's going to happen, what you may need to bring or may need to leave home. So you're going to have to, if you work, you're going to have to, be prepared to take off work on multiple days, to get this done. And then if the assessment doesn't go as planned, it could run a lot longer than you anticipated.
Right.
One of our sons had to take breaks during his last assessment.
Right.
It was just too much for him. And he really wanted to be at school. He didn't want to miss school that day, but it was a lot. And it was a lot for us too, and then having to then wait for the results and have another meeting for that. So
Right. So just understand that this is a process.
yes.
But the main reason we wanted to speak to everyone today is because, we have been hearing where some parents get afraid of the labeling part and may not get the assessment done, or may hold off, and this, that, and the other. And we just wanted to give you our perspective on it, that although we do know, especially in the Black community, we understand labeling can be a problem. In this case, like we said, please take your ego out, take your emotions out, look at the 10 signs, and if you see that these apply to your child, please get them assessed, because in this instance, that label, when it is rightly applied, can help get you the most benefits to help you and your child, to help you assemble that team and start your child on a better journey. And that's why we wanted to make this video. We thank you all. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
I did want to mention that, getting that assessment done sooner rather than later is very important. I can't speak for every state, but I know that in our state, there is currently at least a 6-year waiting list for the autism waiver program.
Right.
The waiver program can really pretty much cover all of the treatment that your child needs. But it's a very long waiting list. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I know when we signed up, it was 10 years. So at least it's now reduced to about 6 years, but it's still a really long time.
Right.
Now, we don't currently qualify for that program anymore because we homeschool our children. In the state of Maryland, your children have to be attending school in order for you to qualify for the autism waiver program, at least at the time of the filming of this video. So, yeah, that's the thing too. So, sooner is better than later. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Make sure that you're getting that assessment done. Also, remember there's waiting lists for even getting assessed. So it could take up to 6 months, maybe longer, to even, get on the schedule to get your child assessed.
So take all these things and factor them into your life, your child's life, and make the best decision. From our point of view, the assessment is the best thing you can do for your future, for your child's future. Again, go to www.mpfat.org, click on autism, read the definition. Please read the 10 signs to help you to make this decision, this determination as to whether you need to get the assessment or not. Once you make that decision, do not delay, because there's already delays, as Nicole has said, already delays that's built into the system already. So you don't want to make it any longer than it has to be, because an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So we thank you for listening to us, and we ask that you please, spread this video along to anybody who's teeter-tottering, who's, not sure what they want to do. Just please tell them to come listen to us. We're telling you about our journey. So we're not doctors, so we're not qualified on that end, but we are parents of 3 autistic children. So we got experience with the situation. We're not, we read a book and we're trying to tell you. No, we're going through it, have been through it, and still have many years to go. We're working hard to try to get our children to where we want them to be. But we decided that we didn't want to keep this to ourselves. We started MPFAT because we noticed all the red tape. You don't know all the stuff that this beautiful lady right here has gone through in terms of research and 40 tabs open on the computer, because she wants to help her children. But we started to find out and figure out, wow, too many parents are going through this, but they're doing it alone.
Yes.
And feeling alone.
Yes.
So that's why we do understand the labeling part. We understand that. We're not talking down or condescending to anyone, but we're just trying to get you to see that that's going to play secondary when you really look at it from a life perspective, especially the quality of life for yourself and especially your child. So eventually, you push the labeling stuff aside when you really need that help.
Yes.
Because it's not easy, and especially for us, because we're dealing with multiples. It's not like we have 3 children and only one is autistic, so you have the other 2 to really help out. No, all 3 are autistic.
And at different levels.
And at different
and
levels.
It looks different on each child.
So we thank you for your time. Like I said, please pass it on. Please help us, because this is a nonprofit, Kills Path for Autistic Triumph. So when you go to www.mpfat.org, please hit that donate button so that we can keep doing what we're doing, so that we'll have the resources to help in different ways. Because I had plenty of ideas, but in this world, money talks. You can't do anything without it. So we need you all to help us by spreading the word, getting this to anybody going through the situation, and then helping us as much financially as you can.
So that we can help other parents like us. So that we can help them have an easier road than we did.
Because trust me, it's hard.
Yes.
Especially when you're playing it by ear. And we were blessed that, as Nicole said, we were able to get a lot of things done earlier. And we've had a good team. A lot of people who have taught us different things. And that's something you definitely got to be willing to work on. Is you got to be listening. And you got to be willing to do a lot of things that you're being advised to do. So with that, we will say peace to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening or the rest of your day, whatever time you're seeing this. Please pass it along. And we'll be coming soon. I got to tell you this. We'll be coming soon. We're going to be doing an episode with my mother, because we wanted to help the grandparents, because I've had a lot of people approach me on the street. Grandparents, what do we do? I want to help, but I don't know how. And, my children are doing this, doing that, but, I don't know how to get on the same page. So we're going to be having my mother soon. And also other parents who are in different situations, bringing them on. And God willing, want to bring in some first responders, because we need that piece. That's a very key piece too, because it is a gap that we have to bridge between us and our first responders, so that they know, because a lot of them are not being trained as well. They don't know. So somebody has to train them. So this is things to look forward to. This is what we're going to be bringing to you. So again, please make that donation so that we can keep doing what we're striving to do. And with that, I think we'll both say peace.
Peace.
Peace, everybody. We thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. And we thank you for tuning in and giving us your time and energy for changing life on the spectrum. If you would like to leave us an email because there's something you want to see on the show, or any information that you may need or want to request, go to changinglifeonthespectrum@gmail.com and just drop us an email. And if you want to support the show, we ask you to support the nonprofit that brings you the show, which is McKill's Path for Autistic Triumph, by going to www.mpfat.org and hitting that donate button, so that we can continue to help our families dealing with autism, and we can continue to help them by changing life on the spectrum. Thank you and peace.